Welcome back, one and all, to Johnnie Torch Live, number 58 edition today. On this lovely Wednesday evening, we're going to do Torch News Roundup number 82, coming right at you. Welcome to the show, and thank you for showing up. I actually got a couple of views on my last video, of course, because I sounded terrible. I actually listened to it a few minutes ago, and yep, I sounded pretty nasal because I was laid low at that point with the common cold. I'm not sure if the sound is quite up to snuff yet, but thank you for tuning in last week during This Week in Comic Book Television. Much appreciated. And we hope to entertain you here with this Torch News Roundup. I always love doing the Torch News Roundups because it's my chance to be, Mr. Newsman, Mr. News Reporter, bring you all the stories that you need to know about the latest in comic book, superhero, sci-fi, all that great stuff that we all know and love. And I just bring it out forth to place before an unsuspecting public. Okay, enough rambling on now. Let us begin. This, of course, is also not going to be a live show. We're recording this because, just in case I have any more, coughing spasms and sneezing fits, I want to thank everybody who bared with me last week, also during those long pauses where I had to turn the mic off in order to sneeze and blow my nose and so forth. But the same rules apply here this week, just in case. All right, I put a new poll up on my Twitter page, so we're going to start off with that. The poll of the week this week. It's a Star Wars poll for you lucky people. And of course, you can find my Twitter link in the description below. So check out my Twitter page for all the excitement and all the fun and hilarity that comes from following me on Twitter. All right, this week's poll of the week question I pose to you. With Carrie Fisher's passing and with Harrison Ford being done with the franchise, should Disney bring Luke Skywalker back to life in the flesh for the final Star Wars saga installment, Episode 9? Now, bear in mind, I also made this disclaimer on the poll question. Coming back in the flesh was a concept that George Lucas originally toyed with during creation of the original trilogy. So it might not be that far out there to suggest that it would be possible for Luke to discover some avenue through the netherworld of the Force to come back in the flesh. That was sort of the concept of why the Jedi's body disappears, because I think there was originally this concept that maybe they could reconstitute their body through the Force sometime in the future. Basically, the whole concept of the Force Ghost was George Lucas' way of wanting to bring Alec Guinness back, because he was very reluctant to part ways with, of course, a great actor like Alec Guinness and the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so in much the same way here, I can see that I think most of the fandom is reluctant at this point to leave Luke Skywalker in the state that we left him in The Last Jedi. And maybe we could twist a point, maybe turn things a little bit in our favor by bringing him back for sort of the action scene that we were promised that we really didn't get. Yeah, kind of. All right, so looking at the options I gave, the first option is yes, bring Luke back in the flesh. Second option, no, only as a Force ghost, which is probably what they want to do. I don't know if they'll change their mind on this, because they have a Herculean effort, J.J. Abrams does, to try to right the ship now at this point. And third option we have is it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. And in the fourth option we have I'm not watching it either way, which I'm sure a lot of people will probably feel like. But so far, looking at the results, and I only have 19 votes because I just put this poll up an hour ago, but nobody has voted not watching either way. One person has voted doesn't matter to me, with only 5% of the vote. In second place, yes, bring Luke back, with 37% of the vote. And in first place so far, with 58% of the vote, only as a Force ghost. So apparently, it seems like there's a strong internet presence that wants, I don't know, Johnson slash Abrams' vision to be upheld and not course corrected as I think it really needs to be. All right, so once again, take a look at my link in the Twitter page, to my Twitter page, and the link in the description below. Go to my Twitter page and vote in this week's poll of the week. You have plenty of time because I just created this poll about an hour ago. Okay, so bear with me. With that in mind, our first story today on Torch News Roundup number 82, we have the maestro himself, the venerable John Williams. John Williams has announced that Episode 9 will be his final score for the Star Wars saga. Of course, John's getting up there in age now, so I don't know if this is pertaining to an official retirement announcement, but he has announced that he is no longer going to be scoring the Star Wars films. He is, of course, scoring a Han Solo theme for the Solo, a Star Wars story movie coming out in a couple of months. So he's still working on that. I imagine the scoring is probably done for that, but Johnnie was quoted as saying, J.J. Abrams is preparing one now that I will hopefully do next year for him. It will round up the series of 9. That will be quite enough for me. Disney will take it further, and they will probably continue on to Star Wars for decades. So I think it's all good. So, hopefully they come up with a movie that's worthy of his talents because, unfortunately, most of what he's had to work with in the past couple of movies is not that great. But a round of applause for the maestro, John Williams. He's been of insurmountable, aid to this franchise, and not only the sequel trilogy, but of course throughout the entire franchise, with the classic themes that he's come up with, the Star Wars theme itself, the Imperial March, the Princess Leia theme, the Luke and Leia theme, which has always been one of my favorites. Just so many great themes that he brought to Star Wars. Of course, he's a prolific conductor, composer in his own right, doing everything from Indiana Jones, Superman, the Harry Potter films, the first couple at least. I don't remember if he did them all. But E.T., Jurassic Park, of course, the list goes on with Steven Spielberg's films. But, when the time comes, it's going to be sad to have to say goodbye to John Williams' great contributions to cinema, and particularly his great contributions to the Star Wars franchise, because he really elevated these films that in a way that I don't think any other conductor or composer could. So hats off to John Williams, the maestro, and thank you for all your service. Okay, so moving on here, we've got, let's see, this is an interesting turn of events that happened a couple of weeks ago that I wasn't able to cover. I forgot last week, as a matter of fact, and being somewhat under the weather, wasn't really up to doing any additional videos that week. But we have news that Disney is rebooting the Muppets once again. They're going to be on the Disney streaming service that has yet to be created. This is the service that I believe they're going to try to put all their Marvel shows on and continue on in that vein. And they're probably going to have some Star Wars content as well. I think there's been rumors of a Star Wars series, or maybe 2 or 3. I'm not sure at this point. I looked up information about Star Wars series, but there really isn't anything concrete that we haven't already heard that they're interested in making Star Wars series, but I don't know. Nothing confirmed yet. The Muppets, of course, had a Muppet revival, so to speak, a couple of years ago. I think it was last year that was canceled. I wasn't particularly fond of it. It was a Office-style remake of the Muppets. It skewed a little bit mature, That's kind of the thing about the Muppets. They've always sort of skewered mature, but what skewered mature back in the 70s and what skewers mature in the 21st century isn't quite compatible, I suppose. But I did a video on that, as a matter of fact, on what I think really the keys of success for the Muppet franchise would be. And I should try to dig it up and put a link here in the video. Maybe at the end of the video, I'll try to do that. But seek it out if you are really interested in the Muppets, because I really did try to get in detail on why I think the Muppets have struggled since the passing of Jim Henson, and really what they need to do to get back on track as one of the dominant franchises that they should be. I mean, it's peaks and valleys for the Muppets for some reason. I mean, once Jim Henson passed on, Brian Henson did a couple of remarkable features. I think that's some of the best, probably, I would say even better than some of the original movies that Jim Henson was involved with. The Muppet Christmas Carol, a classic. The Muppet Treasure Island, I thought, was also a very good, fantastic representation of the Muppets. Then you had the Muppets Tonight days where, you know, the Muppets pretty much were hidden behind Rizzo and Clifford, which they really couldn't carry a show to me. Then you had peaks again with the Muppet movie, or the Muppets movie, I think it was called, not to confuse it with the original Muppet movie, with Amy Adams and that other guy there. I can't remember his name right now. Are You a Man or a Muppet? And that was good. I would like to see that movie again. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. And then, of course, then we got the ABC show. So that seems to be the Muppets modus operandi, where they peak and they valley and they peak and they valley, and they can't stay on a level course where they will just thrive for some reason. I don't know why, but like I said, I tried to address that in a video called my Johnnie's Soapbox Rants on making the Muppets great again. So check that out if you haven't. And if you're a Muppet fan, let me know, what do you hope to see in this new Muppet reboot? I always said, it's really that hard to go back to the vaudeville stage like they did in the Muppet Show. Of course, you update it. In the 70s, they were doing, you know, musical skits from the 20s up to like maybe the 50s or something. Of course, you'll want to update that and do some more modern stuff. I understand that, but that's kind of what made the Muppets movie successful, I think, was they went back to the format of let's put on a show. And that's basically what the Muppets always were. It was basically that old-fashioned 1930s feel of, you know, Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, and let's put on a show and everybody will come and have fun and everything. That's basically the key to the Muppet success, I think. But let me know what you think. What do you want to see in a Muppets reboot coming up apparently next year, I suppose, for the Muppets? Okay. All right. Moving on now. Let's take a look at... We got a lot of DC news. We'll try to get to all that, I think, in due course. Let's first go to the Marvel side of things. This is a report from the Captain Marvel screenwriter, Geneva Robertson Dwart. And a little bit of interview came out about the Captain Marvel motion picture. And she had this to say: Captain Marvel has a very funny voice. A funny voice, really? Brie Larson's going to have to sound like Eddie Murphy or something? No. I don't think that's what she meant. Captain Marvel has a very funny voice, and it's more of an action comedy. I love funny female characters, so as Tomb Raider got more serious, a sidebar here, apparently she wrote Tomb Raider, which is going to come out pretty soon, not to be confused with the original movies with Angelina Jolie. There's a Tomb Raider reboot coming out, which looks pretty boring if you ask me, but I was never really into Tomb Raider, so I don't know. I would have liked to play the video games, but I never got into them either, so I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Apparently, this is what the tone of the Captain Marvel movie is going to be. This is what she's trying to communicate, what I'm trying to communicate of her trying to communicate. Okay. I love funny female characters, so as Tomb Raider got more serious, I got even more committed to the idea of Captain Marvel being hilarious. That's not just me inventing that. Carol Danvers is one of the funniest comic book characters. She's so sassy. She's such a smart blank. She won't take stuff from anyone. And the comic books do an amazing job at capturing that voice. And it was important that the entire Captain Marvel creative team kept that. So I guess I get what she's trying to say. We basically they're going to make Captain Marvel the female Tony Stark. Is that kind of what she's saying? I mean, not so much the I guess the quick wit is maybe what it is. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're gonna make her more sarcastic than Tony Stark traditionally is in the movies. But I don't know. It's an interesting concept here. Just let me know what you think in the comments below about Captain Marvel. I don't know. I mean, I'm not overly aware of the comic book Captain Marvel. From what I remember her being, she's pretty much no nonsense. So I guess they're trying to say that's the way they'll go. But again, trying to say that she's going to be humorous, I guess, is I don't know, not quite what I was expecting. Let me know if you think that's quite what you were expecting from Captain Marvel. Okay, hey, I just had to throw that in because we have to make a show here. I don't think anybody knows what to make of the Captain Marvel movies yet, but staying in league here with the MCU, let's take a look at this new image that they put up of Infinity War. This is, of course, Captain America, Black Panther, Black Widow, the Winter Soldier / Bucky, and oh, I always forget how to pronounce her name. Okoye. I think I got it. I think I got it this time. I apologize for the Black Panther review where I kept calling her something different. Okoye, I couldn't pronounce it. But anyhow, Okoye, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Anyhow, this of course is on the plains of Wakanda, and they're preparing for battle with. If I remember correctly from the trailer, it looks like some kind of aliens. I'm not sure if they probably are working for Thanos at that point. Those aliens. I'm not sure exactly what kind of aliens are in his employ. But we have some news here, some big, staggering, shocking news. The Avengers Infinity War movie is going to be moved up to April 27th. So it is going to be a global release for the movie. No longer must you fear that people in the Netherlands and Europe and Paraguay, Uruguay, Uganda, they're all going to see the movie before you and spoil it for you online. Not so. Kevin Feige has moved the movie up to April 27th so that we can now all enjoy it together. This is a movie that I think I might actually try to see on opening day. I think maybe they're trying to keep from there being spoilers to ruin the experience for people. The only movie I ever seen on opening day, I think, in as far back as I can remember, was Captain America: Civil War, and that was certainly worth it. I saw Justice League on opening weekend, which is something I also don't usually do. I was looking forward to that so much too that I just couldn't wait. So this might be one that I think it's worth it, that I'm gonna probably try to see it as soon as possible and not take the cheap way out and wait for the half price tickets or whatever the week after. But also, according to AMC Movies, the film runtime has been released. And apparently, according to them anyway, it is going to run 2 hours and 36 minutes. Apparently, that's probably with credits as well. So you can probably figure it being maybe 2 hours and 25 minutes of actual, screen time, with probably 8 or 9 minutes worth of credits and probably like 2 minutes worth of, what do they call them, after credits tags, post credit scenes. Probably get like 2 minutes worth of that. So yeah, I can't help but be excited for Avengers Infinity War, but I have to say, and I have to be honest, if there's any film this year that I think I might be disappointed in, it probably would be Infinity War. I think I'm going to have a ball with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a ball with Aquaman. I already had a ball with Black Panther. That was fantastic. What else is there? Well, Venom. I don't think I'm going to be disappointed because I don't have a high bar set for that one. Um, uh, Han Solo movie, again, I don't have a high bar set for that one. I don't really think it's going to revolutionize the franchise or anything. But I mean, they have to get it right. This is the penultimate movie, really, in the. It all built up to this. And I don't know that they can live up to it without disappointing if they're going to kill off, as has been rumored, 90% of the franchise characters. And, we're looking at only a few that we know are coming back. We know there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so they're safe. Black Widow's getting a solo movie, so she's safe. Black Panther will probably get a solo movie. I mean, a sequel to the Black Panther because it made so much darn money that you would think that he deserves a sequel. And the movie was good, obviously, but I'm saying, when Hollywood money talks, I mean, it could be the best movie in the world, but if it didn't make any money, he's not getting a sequel. But it's both, so he's getting a sequel. Doctor Strange, it's been sort of hinted around that he's going to get a sequel. We haven't really heard anything solid about that. And of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp are going to survive because they're in the movie after this. So that leaves pretty much everybody else on the table to be killed. I don't know. If they do go through with this idea of killing off a multitude of characters, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be able to leave that theater with a smile on my face. Unless, of course, a lot of people are saying that if you read the actual story, I guess everybody gets killed off and then comes back. How will they affect that in the sequel to Infinity War? I don't know. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the Avengers Infinity War runtime, the new release date? And do you think you'll potentially be disappointed in the film if they do kill everybody off and just leave sort of the B team in charge? Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, getting to some of the more pertinent stories that we've been, teasing here in the Torch News Roundup number 82. Everybody's looking forward to this. Everybody wanted to see, what is Shazam's costume going to look like? Well, we are going to tell you and show you from some of the images that have been showing up online. The director, David Sandberg, has said it's amazing that these images haven't shown up online yet because he has actually been shooting outdoors for quite a while now. And this is the first picture that this is not the first picture that leaked, but this is the first picture that I'm going to show you that basically has the entire costume on display. You can see from the front, that of course is Zachary Levi, who is playing Shazam. I still don't know who's playing the Wizard Shazam. Like I said, the actor that played him, that was to play him, died. So either they're going to replace him in this movie or the next. I'm not sure. But so yeah, we've got these images here of Zachary Levi as Shazam, and I think the costume looks great. I mean, holy moly, that's the bee's knees. Look at that. It looks like he stepped right from the comic, and it looks comparable to the other two live action. Yes, there's two other live action incarnations of Shazam / Captain Marvel, both the Tom Tyler serial from the 30s, I believe, and the popular Filmation 1970s TV show. I actually think that the Tom Tyler Captain Marvel, Adventures of Captain Marvel, I believe that was the first ever superhero serial. There could have been others, but I'm talking about of the mainstream characters. Superman, Captain America, Shazam. They all had serials, and I believe Captain Marvel's was the first. I mean, they might have had a serial for the Lone Ranger, Zorro, something like that. But I'm talking of the actual superheroes. So anyway, and by the way, I would recommend that one highly. The Adventures of Captain Marvel, the serial. That to me, I think, is probably the best superhero serial you'll find. The Superman ones were good. The Batman ones. The second Batman one was good. First one was kind of, they were doing a it was highly politically incorrect. Let's put it that way. With World War II setting. Um, but anyway, I digress. That's a good subject for another time. But yeah, so the costume looks great. It looks to me like there's something sort of as a placeholder on his chest for the lightning bolt. I don't know if that means it's going to be animated later as a special effect. But apart from that, the boots look great. It's gold. Looks like he stepped right out of the comics. This is the very shiny gold they used, and the red jumpsuit. That's great. Uh, the cape. He's got the half cape, which is something I always thought looked dorky. I have to admit, I always thought the cape looked dorky because he's got like the two layers to it. You know, he's got like the cape on the back, and then it covers a longer cape that goes down to like, you know, the back of his knee or something. But he doesn't have like a very regal Superman styled cape, which is different. But you know, it's an acquired look, I suppose, and he pulls it off really good. So this, of course, is on the set. It looks like he's talking to, I don't know who he's talking to, because Mary Marvel, or the character who's going to play Mary Marvel, the actress who's going to play the character of Mary Marvel, is older in this. She's not 8 years old, or however old that kid is. His hair looks great. They darkened his hair. He's got black hair just like Shazam in the comics. Again, I can't see any fault with the costume from what little we can see. There's another shot here of him from the back, so you get a better look at the cape. And we will take a look at the cape. And you can see it's got the hood as well. So, you know, they're running on all cylinders here. I mean, they've given him the hood, the cape, very accurate looking boots and gauntlets. They've just done their homework here. And I can tell that both the director for Shazam and the director for Aquaman seem to have the original concept clearly imprinted in their mind. It's very clear that they're trying to stick with both the look and the familial setting of the comics. They're not trying to stray too far from the reservation. Also interesting here that we seen in the first picture, the snow, Shazam saving a bus, it looks like, from a crash or something. And here we have him surrounded by Christmas trees. So quite obviously, the film is going to take place during the Christmas season. There's been some concerns that maybe this is going to be too jokey, you know, too much of a. What I'm actually hoping for, which is what the Shazam concept really sprung up from the Depression era. It sprang up from Popeye, Little Orphan Annie, Dick Tracy. These concepts that were the little guy in the comic pages, not in the comic books, in the comic pages, the funny papers of the newspapers. And I think if they can get that flavor to it, that style, they're going to have something good on their hands there. Take a look at the movies. Take a look at Popeye the movie. Take a look at Dick Tracy the movie. Take a look at Annie the movie. And try to emulate that kind of feel. Now, it's difficult because all three of those movies were set in the Depression era. They were all set like in the 30s. But as long as you have that kind of feel of the underdog, I think you'll be able to pull off what Shazam really encompassed in that character. Sort of the little guy trying to, you know, make his way, you know, in a world that was pretty much against him, but he had this one gift from the gods, so to speak, from the wizard Shazam. And it turned it around for him. Very, very optimism in the face of bleakness. And that's kind of what they had in, like I said, Popeye, Dick Tracy, Little Orphan Annie. And the movies of those comics pretty much encapsulated that. So that's what my hopes are for Shazam. And I think the cost's great. The images look great. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about the Shazam movie? What do you want to see in the Shazam movie? What do you not want to see in the Shazam movie? What do you hope it will turn out to be? What do you hope it will avoid? Another big story that goes back a couple of days now, we have it's a little more than a rumor, but it's yet to be confirmed, but Patty Jenkins is actively pursuing Kristen Wiig to play Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2 that's due out. Do they begin shooting next year? I think they begin shooting next year. But Kristen Wiig, of course, from the failed, to say the least, Ghostbusters remake of last year. That film is finally showing up now in the $7 bargain bins after they optimistically kept trying to sell it at $20, $10. Now it's like $5 to $7 bin. I don't know. But anyway, that was a disaster. But, don't take that on Kristen Wiig. Maybe she is just the right actress for the role. There's been some criticism because apparently, because she's a Saturday Night Live actress and stuff like that, that maybe she's not right for the role because of her background in comedy. And we're not really expecting Cheetah to be a laugh-a-minute villainous. I don't think that's really a concern because, she's not really a pratfall comedian, you know what I mean? She's not someone that's going to take a pie in the face, for lack of a better term. I mean, she's an actress that's known for doing humorous things, but not necessarily meaning that she can't handle a dramatic role. So I don't see a problem with that. Other people are concerned with maybe she's not glamorous enough. I'm a little put off by that. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to try to say, let Rosie O'Donnell play Cheetah or something like that, then yeah, okay, I know what you mean. But when you try to take a reasonably attractive woman like Kristen Wiig and say that she's not glamorous enough, well, that's kind of what Max Factor has been in business for the past 85 years or whatever. I'm sure with the proper makeup, she can look as glamorous as the next actress. What really matters in this case is what they want to do with the character of Cheetah. Now, I know there is two different versions of Cheetah. Again, excuse me. There is a classic version of Cheetah, which I like the most, where she basically wears a skin-tight cheetah costume with the ears on the top of the head, and it covers over her head. And in later incarnations in the 60s, they cut out the back of it so that her hair flows freely in the wind, a little bit like Catwoman. I like that version, but in recent years, in order to make her, more grim and gritty and buff, they gotta make her be a human cheetah, basically, where she grows fur and claws and a tail to boot. And, she fights Catwoman. She fights Catwoman. She fights Wonder Woman more as a physical equal, as a physical adversary. Of course, in the comics, she had some kind of magical potion, Cheetah, where she had physical powers, strength and manifest powers of, because she was an archaeologist. Yes, I remember some of this stuff. I haven't read, the more modern incarnation, but I remember the Minerva, I think was her name, wasn't it? Something like that. And so, yeah, I don't have a problem with this casting. I think depending on what they do with it, it should be good. I would like the original concept of Cheetah. I doubt that's what they're going to do. They're going to probably do the, Cheetah Woman version where, she's part animal or something. But my advice would be to go with the original Cheetah concept. I think that would be fun to see on screen. Of course, that probably would facilitate Kristen Wiig more as a comedian, maybe if she could play to play Cheetah more as a femme fatale, sort of the Catwoman version of Cheetah, like Michelle Pfeiffer did, and sort of ham it up a little bit. That would be fun. But they say cheetahs never prosper. So let's hope that that's not the case in this film. Of course, the only other information we have about this film is that it is going to be set in the 80s during the Cold War, which I still don't understand what the concept of putting it in the 80s is. Why do you do that? I don't understand. Because we already established that Wonder Woman shows up in present day during Batman v Superman. And we already established in Justice League that she kind of turned her back on man's world after the Wonder Woman movie, the Wonder Woman origin story that happened in the 40s. So now you're saying she came out of retirement in the 80s to do something, and Cheetah was around in the 80s, which means how are they going to put her in modern day if she's going to be 30 years older? Of course, if she's a creature hybrid, maybe that won't make any difference. But then again, you also have to remember, time travel. You have to answer the question, where's Cheetah been if, she doesn't get killed off in that movie, which I hope she doesn't get killed off, because that's the biggest waste of a lot of these villains, is when they kill them off and then we don't have that Legion of Doom, the Legion of Doom setting for the pardon me as I sip a little of the old H2O. But supposedly Justice League is going to have Legion of Doom as its villains. And in order to set that up, you need to have some living villains after these movies. So I'm hoping Black Manta survives Aquaman. I'm hoping Cheetah survives the Wonder Woman sequel. We have Deathstroke still. And we have Lex Luthor apparently still. So we have a couple of members that can hopefully join the Legion. Possibly the Joker. I think he's going to need a attitude upgrade, though, because, I don't know, they tried to use that kind of gangsta Joker. Gangsta boy. And I don't know if that's going to fit in well with a Legion of Doom thing. But then again, they need to alter Lex Luthor's personality, too, to be honest with you. And we can't have that same Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? That manic Lex Luthor, that's not something that anybody responded to well. So, all right, we're going to continue on with the DC EU, if that's what they're still calling it, verse. And let me know what you think in the comments below here, though, about Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. And finally, as I said, we stick with the DCEU for this most recent rumor that just came out today. They're saying that Warner Brothers is targeting Chris McQuarrie, the director of some of the more recent Mission Impossible films, to helm the upcoming Green Lantern Corps movie. Now, apparently, let me see if I can get to this before my voice gives out. Apparently, they're saying that if they get Chris McQuarrie, that maybe it'll be a package deal where they'll get Tom Cruise to play Hal Jordan. Now, of course, Tom Cruise is going to be pushing 60, believe it or not. I mean, the ever-ready, the Energizer Bunny that he is. But is that really what they want for a Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern franchise? The problem with this, to me, is, though, Hal Jordan should be the leader of the Green Lanterns. I'm not saying like the Council of Oa. I'm trying to say though that he has to be on the job. So if they're talking about putting him in action, which Tom Cruise can handle the action, that's fine. But I don't know if I see him lasting through a franchise and stuff with this. I don't know. Maybe so because he has with the Mission Impossible films. I don't know. I don't really watch the Mission Impossible films. They also went on to say on the short list though is also Joel McHale, Bradley Cooper, Armie Hammer, Jake Gyllenhaal, which I don't understand since he's supposedly up for Batman, and even possibly Ryan Reynolds returning to the role, which is what I always wanted. But I kind of feel like Ryan Reynolds burned his bridges with that franchise. I don't know if he even wants to come back. In the comics, I remember there was a Hal Jordan with graying temples. So it's not like they've never had a more aged Green Lantern, a more aged Hal Jordan. So I'm not saying he has to be the youngest character ever, but it's something that you have to start with the first one. That's what I've always said. You don't start with Wally West. You start with Barry Allen. I know Jay Garrett was first, and I know, Alan, what was the first Green Lantern's name again? Alan, I don't remember right this minute. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. You start with the most famous incarnation of the character. And, you don't start with Tim Drake, you start with Dick Grayson. And I've always held to that. So if they're going to start with someone, I would say start with Hal Jordan. Make him young enough to keep in the whole franchise. Don't just like farm him out and have the problem that you're having now with Ben Affleck and Batman. Because he had an expiration date stamped on his forehead the minute you hired him to play Batman. And he might have been good, but the problem is now he's done 3 movies and he wants out. And it's going to be the same thing with Tom Cruise. I think, you put him in a movie, then you give him like a cameo in the next movie, and then maybe you give him the 3rd movie, and then he wants out. Why bother going through that when we could just get a more reasonably age-appropriate actor who will stick around. And they're trying to say that, well, it's going to be sort of the Green Lantern Corps is going to take the sort of Lethal Weapon approach, where it's going to be experienced cop, rookie, and Jon Stewart, of course, will be the rookie GL for the film. And I like that concept. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't really think you need to make Hal Jordan that old in that concept. I think it's a good concept, though, that they should probably stick to. Well, let me know what you think about that. Do you think Tom Cruise is the man for the job? I mean, he was originally attached to Iron Man in the early days before the MCU, and they wanted to cast him as Iron Man. He almost took the role, apparently, but then, funding pulled out and things happened. I think New Line Cinemas was going to make that movie before it went back to the hands of before it went into the hands of the MCU with Kevin Feige and the entire MCU being formed from the beginning. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below about Tom Cruise potentially playing Hal Jordan in Green Lantern Corps. All right, so that about wraps it up here for Torch News Roundup number 82. We are going to go to some viewer comments now briefly before we wrap it up. Okay, just give me 60 seconds here while I... All right, we've got viewer comments here from my Black Panther review. Oh, that was... I got a couple of views on it. That was somewhat popular, and I want to thank my viewers for chiming in. First, of course, Bamboo, Bamboo, Bamboo. Been a great fan of the show, and we're always grateful to have him turn up and give his 2 cents, as it were. He says, I really liked this movie. Not the best MCU film, but it was fun to watch. Agree on Claw. I wish they would have kept him around, but I get why they did what they did. Shuri stole the show from me too. Nice review. Thank you very much, Bamboo, Bamboo, Bamboo. Love to hear from you whenever you show up. It puts a smile on my face. And I agree. Yeah, basically, like I said, Shuri stole the show. A lot of people are saying like, what's in store for her in the MCU? They've got to do something with her, right? Because originally in the comics, I believe she became a Black Panther as well. I mean, because I don't want to see her become. A lot of people are saying, well, she should become the next Riri Williams. She should be Iron Man. I don't want to see the characters replaced like that. That's what the problem was in the comics, the SJW Marvel. If you've seen our last Sports News Roundup, then you know basically my feelings on that. I don't like seeing the mantle being taken over by somebody else. You know what I mean? So we should give her something, heroic persona, of course, but not somebody else's, not something that belonged to somebody else. She should be her own character. If she takes up a Black Panther mantle, might be all right. I don't know how that would work since T'Challa is still the Black Panther, but let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think the role for Shuri should be going forward in the MCU? Should she just stay as a sidekick, as a sort of a cue to T'Challa's Bond, or should she get out there in the field and take on a costume and a persona? Some other things that I didn't mention in the review pertaining to Shuri was a lot of people have criticized the Queen. I can't remember Angela Bassett's character, her name, but Angela Bassett, of course, T'Challa's mother. A lot of people have criticized her for not having any emotion or not displaying enough remorse over T'Chaka's death. I didn't really have a problem with that because I took it that she was a stoic queen. You know what I mean? That she didn't have time for that. She understood her role, which was, I have to get my son ready to be the king, and I can't take time off to grieve and mourn. And maybe we'll do that some other time when nobody's around. Right now, we've got this big ceremony that we have to get through, and she was, prioritizing what needed to be done at the time. So I didn't have a problem with that. Although it did occur to me in my mind, I said, why didn't they have Shuri grieve a little bit more, though? Because you have to remember, she's supposed to be like a 16 or 17-year-old kid, I think. I don't think she could just put off the emotions as easily as a queen who's been in the manner born, so to speak. So I probably would have maybe had a minor criticism of that. But apart from that, I didn't really have any more problem with that. All right, so also we're going to go to the next comment on my Black Panther review, which, check it out if you haven't. Ronimus Prime Ronimus Prime 77. He's been a great fan to the show as well, and a good friend on Twitter. And I thank him for joining us here with YouTube, because he hasn't watched too many of my YouTube videos, but he commented on this one because he's a big Black Panther fan. So it really warms my heart to see that he enjoyed my review. Ronimus Prime 77 says, great review, Johnny. You probably already knew this by now since we both follow each other on Twitter and everything, but I absolutely love this movie. I thought that it told a good and cohesive narrative. The world building of Wakanda was fantastic, and that some of the character development was spectacular. As a fan of the comics, I thought that it perfectly captured the essence of Black Panther's comics and everything that's great about most of them. The main two stories from the comics that the movie was loosely adapting is both the Panther's Rage story arc in Don McGregor's Jungle action run on Black Panther, and the second story arc that focuses on Killmonger in Christopher Priest's run on Black Panther, which is awesome because those two story arcs from both those runs on Black Panther are some of my favorite Killmonger stories. I wouldn't say that it's a perfect movie since it has a lot of flaws within it, but despite some of its flaws, I'd say that it's a darn good movie. My rating for it would be a solid 9 out of 10. Oh, and to answer your question that you asked at the end of your review about which Black Panther villains we'd like to see in the sequel for Black Panther, I'd personally love to see Archibee, White Wolf, American Panther, and maybe Man-Ape again as one of the main villains for Black Panther 2. So once again, thank you very much, Ronald, for the comments. I appreciate it very much, especially, like I said, I know you're a big Black Panther fan, and like I said, it means a lot to me to know that my review was pleasing to you. Let me go through some of your comments here now. I read them out right without breaking them up. Out of respect, I wanted to read them all outright. But let me break it up here, and we'll talk a little bit about what you had to say. Yeah, basically the first point, I think that the movie captured everything that was great about the Black Panther comics. I didn't read enough Black Panther comics. That's why it was basically a surprise to me, the film, because I was going in blind, not knowing a whole lot about the film other than he was the king of Wakanda and that he had his own, nation to run. But again, that's great recommendations there, because that would be something I would probably like to look into. I've heard of Christopher Priest's run being very popular. The Killmonger arc, I suppose, is something I should look into. And what was the other one? The Panther's Rage story arc from Don McGregor's Jungle Action run. Sounds very interesting. Like I said, maybe I will look those two storylines up and see for myself some great comic action from the Black Panther. At the end there, you say the film gets a 9 out of 10. That's exactly what I gave it, because on my scale, I give 5 stars out of, a 5-star rating. I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5, which would be the equivalent of probably 9 stars. I mean, 9 stars out of 10, if that's what you want to use that kind of point system, would probably be about the same. Also, I don't think I gave it a letter grade. I'm not sure. I would probably give it a B+, I guess. I have to say, I would love to see it again. I don't know whether I'll be able to or not, because like I said, my time is a little more fleeting now. Because I didn't even get to see Thor Ragnarok twice. And I really like that film. I put that in my top 10 MCU films. And I never got a chance to see that one again either. So I might not be able to see Black Panther again in theaters, but I'll be looking forward to seeing it again on DVD or Blu-ray as soon as possible. That would be great. It has a lot of flaws within it. I only found the one flaw. Like I said, I didn't understand how they had the code printed in their lip. I don't know. They should explain how that happens, because particularly with Killmonger, he shows up in Wakanda and he has the thing too, the code on his lip. I never understood how that happens, how they get that, and that's something I think they should have explained. But anyway, it's still a great movie. It's not a perfect film, but it's a great movie. And Ronald's recommendations for villains in the Black Panther sequel. He says, Achby, I don't really know this character, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Achby, I don't know him, so him or her, I don't know, so I couldn't tell you if that's going to be a good idea or not. White Wolf is something that I've heard a lot of ever since the end of the movie, because they're saying that Shuri, I believe, calls Bucky White Wolf, and they said that in the comics from different sources that I've been reading. White Wolf is the adoptive white brother of Shuri and T'Challa. He's treated as a brother, and he's a white man that is apparently the only white man living in Wakanda. As I said, I don't know enough about the story, so I couldn't tell you if that's an accurate description, but that's what I've been told, or what I've read anyway. So that would be interesting to see if Bucky himself is White Wolf. I don't know. Is that going to be like a persona he adopts, or is he going to keep calling himself the Winter Soldier? Which I don't know if he ever even called himself the Winter Soldier, but maybe he'll just call himself Bucky. I don't know. American Panther, again, I never heard of that one. I have no idea what that is. That's interesting. Let me know in the comments below about some of these characters. Let me know some of their history in the comics, and maybe I'll look them up. But I would love to hear some more about some of these villains. Maybe Man-Ape again is one of the main villains. I don't know about that, though, because there's been a lot of support for M'Baku. I think everybody loved M'Baku in the film. Me too. I mean, he was a great character, man-ape. But to turn him evil, I don't know if they would want to do that now because everybody responded so well to him. I mean, he's kind of like that lovable jerk. I mean, he gives T'Challa a tough time, but then again, you know that he's an honorable character and he'll do what's best for Wakanda, and he does the right thing at the end of the day. So I don't know if I could see him as a villain, but again, I don't know enough about the characters. I mean, maybe because he was a villain in the comics, I believe they could probably skew him back in that direction. All right, so thank you once again to Ronimus Prime 77. Thank you once again to Bamboo Bamboo Bamboo. You guys are what make the channel worth doing because, you know, this is not just about me. This is about me, you know, having a conversation with you guys. This is about me bringing the news to you, asking you what you think, and what good is me asking you what you think if you don't tell me? So thank you once again for bearing with me for another live broadcast. A little bit under the weather still, been feeling a lot better lately, but hopefully I will be rough and ready, vim and vigor, ready to take on This Week in Comic Book Television on Saturday in our regularly scheduled time on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnnie Torch Live. And I haven't watched any of the shows yet. As of now, I think Legends, Black Lightning, and Flash have all been on. I haven't seen them. Haven't seen them yet. I got to sit down here and watch some of these shows tonight. All right, so thank you once again for tuning in. And remember, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.